Well, at least I'm not getting these done as late as the year before. It's time now for my end of the year list, starting with my top 10 best movies of 2025. I've seen a lot of thumbnails and stuff saying that 2025 was the absolute worst year in history for film. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, although I did come face to face with the single worst movie I've seen in my life, so maybe that by default makes it the worst year. But then again, there were some real bangers in 25 too, and I'm gonna name 10 of them right now. And just to give you a heads up, they don't include the two most acclaimed films of the year, Sinners and One Battle After Another. Yeah, I wound up having mixed feelings about those two. So, take from this what you will, these are my top 10 movies of 2025 that I liked more than Sinners and One Battle After Another. Number 10. Starting off my list at number 10 is Roofman. I'm always up for being transported back to the early aughts, Madam Web notwithstanding, and boy, there were some images in this movie that had me so mind-blown with nostalgia that I couldn't even think about what was being said in the scene. But more importantly, this is an amusingly fascinating story about the oddly polite criminal Jeffrey Manchester, and I was so surprised to find out how much of what we see in this movie really happened. This guy hid out in a Toys R Us for months, and in that time had a serious relationship with a woman at a Presbyterian church. Channing Tatum is ideally cast, his chemistry with Kristen Dunst is great, and it is interesting to see all the incongruous opinions on this guy from everyone he came into contact with. Number 9. I've got some real superhero movie fatigue right now, so how's this for a change of pace? A hero who has no special ability, but only a disability. Enter the year's most delightfully crazy action romp, Novocaine. This was how I first learned about SIPA, the congenital insensitivity to pain with anhidrosis, and Jack Quaid is very believable and entertaining as the protagonist, who starts off reclusive and non-confrontational because of all the endless dangers of having that disorder. But then he meets his soulmate who brings the light to his life, and when she gets held hostage by bank robbers, he takes it upon himself to hunt them down, allowing him to use his inability to feel pain to his advantage. And it does just about everything with that premise you can possibly think of. Where else are you gonna see a guy speak casually and coherently to an enemy even while getting decked in the face? Where else are you gonna see a skinny guy pound his fistful of shattered glass to get the upper hand on a big hulking Nazi? Where else are you gonna see a guy make an adversary believe he's torturing him just to stall for time? And it all sends an empowering message to come out of your shell, take a few chances in life, and whatever disability you may have, wear it like a badge of honor. Number 8. While Angel Studios had a pretty good financial year and thanks to their animated films, they had a couple of others that were very sadly overlooked, including Sketch, a solid family movie that didn't quite make my top 10. But cracking the list at number 8 is Truth and Treason, about the cause initiated by 17-year-old Helmuth Hubener, the youngest citizen of Nazi Germany to be executed for speaking against Hitler's evil. Angel's second WW2 drama, following Bonhoeffer from the year before, this is the better and more accurate of the two. While the cinematography may be a bit TV movie quality, everything else about it is anything but. The performances, the music, even some of the editing is really effective. It's a well-dramatized reenactment honoring a young fallen hero who proved that the best way to have a totalitarian regime throwing a fit is by merely speaking truth to power. Number 7. At number 7 is a movie I went into totally blind, because the advertising for it was pretty much non-existent, She Rides Shotgun. I never saw a single trailer or anything. The poster just came up on the Regal app, and I was drawn in because I'm a softie for the wholesome trope of a strong man protecting a little girl. In this case, Taron Egerton plays a man who just got out of jail, unexpectedly picks up his daughter from school, and goes on the run to protect her from a white supremacist gang that's after them both. The process of her becoming less apprehensive about him may have been a bit rushed, but from there, the emotional stakes are very strong, with him trying to protect her from paying for his sins, but all the while she's having to gradually say goodbye to her innocence, and I felt so bad for her through all of it. Egerton is better than he's ever been, newcomer Anna Sophia Heger is stellar, and the shootout scenes are gripping. This is a splendid neo-western, and the most sorely overlooked movie of 2025. Lionsgate seriously needs to have a word with their marketing team. Number 6. In a summer of disappointing blockbusters, we did get the first place winner, F1. Between this and Days of Thunder, I guess directing a Top Gun movie puts you in the mood to direct a car racing movie next, however that works, and Joseph Kosinski brought us one adrenaline-fueled ride. Brad Pitt is as suave as you'd think he'd be in the role of an aging race car driver, and he has a compelling and hilarious partnership/rivalry with Damson Idris that drives home, so to speak, the need for separate generations to work together. The races and test drive sequences come often, and they were a blast in IMAX. The camera shots that ride with the cars, along with the incredible sound mixing of both the engines and the announcer's voice, it somehow made me feel like I was in the driver's seat and in the grandstands all at once. It may not reinvent the sports genre, but it executes every familiar beat with so much class that I didn't care. I'll raise a bottle of cold milk to this one. Number 5. Here's a flick that had no right being an Apple TV Plus original, and I was not going to settle for the small screen for this one. It only opened to a select few theaters in the US, and I had to go a little outside my normal range in order to see it, so it was a one-night vacation to Bellingham. And as I was in the theater watching The Lost Bus, I knew I should not have stayed home that day. Love me my 90s references. This is the best disaster movie in a good long while, with Matthew McConaughey playing bus driver Kevin McKay, who fought to save a bus full of children from the Paradise wildfires of 2018. Director Paul Greengrass specializes in depicting hectic events from recent history, and this is another to add to his lineup. With frighteningly realistic visual effects, we get a full-scale view of the disaster, starting with a tracking shot of a couple of sparks falling from a power line, and taking us straight into the resulting blustery inferno with the people who lived it. McConaughey gives a very relatable portrayal of Kevin McKay, a guy who's not doing well with his job and struggling to care for his disabled mother. He's just had to put his dog down, and as he's on the phone receiving word that his son doesn't want to see him anymore, he's watching a huge plume of smoke coming down the hill. We've all had those days when it feels like absolutely zilch is going right, and Kevin McKay is a great embodiment of that, but also an inspiration to not give in to any invasive thoughts of nihilism. I'm so glad I got the elusive chance to see this in the theaters, just where a movie of its type belongs. Number 4. At number 4 is a title that unfortunately does not roll off the tongue, Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight. Based on the memoir by Alexandra Fuller, it's a story of racial tensions during the final days of the Rhodesian Bush War, seen through the eyes of an 8-year-old girl, played marvelously by first-timer Lexi Venter. And we're not told anything about the war beyond what this kid's understanding of it is. And having had no prior knowledge of the Rhodesian Bush War myself, I think this enhanced the experience for me. Embeth Davidtz directs the movie and plays the girl's mother, and she manages to instill complex feelings about the mother to us in the audience. We do dislike her for how she's trained her daughter to see black people as underclass, but at the same time, we really get how sacred her family's homeland is to them, and we feel kind of bad that it's soon to be taken away from them. Ultimately, though, it's a moving journey of this kid shedding her simplistic views stemming from inherited prejudice, leading to an artfully executed closing scene. The only thing in the sea of greatness that sticks out like a sore thumb is a stock fart noise. Seriously, this movie is way too high above a stock fart noise. Who put that there? Number 3. The film of the year that kept me coming back to the theater for repeat viewings. First so I could put more of the mystery together, and then it was just so I could keep reliving the audience reactions. I'm talking about the one-of-a-kind movie-going experience that was Weapons. A weird mystery told from multiple perspectives, each one adding another piece to the puzzle, and it entices us with all the loose ends, partly thanks to the marketing that kept everything in the dark. Too bad the same couldn't be said about the YouTube ads we got before the movie came to streaming. But still, this is a wonderfully peculiar horror film, with moments of comedy that quite paradoxically add to the horror, and yet it's got characters I genuinely felt bad for. Archer's dream sequence was really heart-wrenching, thus ingeniously catching us off guard with the jump scare it builds to. In particular, though, the character of Justine, the teacher, honestly made me feel seen right now. At least to an extent. I mean, my guts aren't hated by an entire town. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. It's filled with thought-provoking parallels and themes pertaining to child abuse and manipulation, school shootings, and assumptions made in the face of tragedy. And while I can't reveal the role she plays for the sake of anyone who hasn't seen it, Amy Madigan killed it. She absolutely earned that Academy Award. And the ending? Just so much yes. I could have those last few minutes as a screensaver. It is gloriously satisfying. Number 2. But I would walk 500 miles if it means Mark Hamill doesn't shoot me dead. Yep, number 2 is The Long Walk, keeping up with 50 young men who are forced to keep walking 3 miles an hour until there's only one still standing. I was surprised to find out that this was actually the first novel that Stephen King finished writing, because it feels like a subversion of just about every one of his tropes. There's a bully character who has an unexpected arc, a Christian character who's actually cool-natured and even thick-skinned. There's countless twists and turns that ultimately speak to the power of human conscience. This movie is so wildly unpredictable, I can almost guarantee you, whatever you think is going to happen at any given point, it won't. The solid performances and the effortless chemistry and dialogue between these young men had me fixated beginning to end, and there were several of them that I was rooting for. Thus, it kind of hurt throughout the movie knowing that probably not all of them were going to live to see the end credits. Here's all you need to know about this movie's effectiveness. There was a point while watching when it suddenly hit me like a thunderclap that I had been involuntarily tapping my feet on the floor in a walking pattern, as if I was right there hiking alongside these guys and getting to know them. The Long Walk is one hypnotic trip, and the greatest Stephen King adaptation since The Green Mile. Number 1. Actually, now that I think about it, there were quite a few overlooked movies of 2025. But there was one, however, that absolutely should have swept awards season, and yet didn't get a single acknowledgement. That which I refer to is my number 1 favorite movie of 2025, Rental Family. It was great seeing this movie with my brother, who was there to give me insight into little details in the dialogue that you'd probably only catch on to if you've lived in Japan for a substantial amount of time. Every once in a while, a movie comes along that opens my eyes to something that I knew absolutely nothing about beforehand. This is one of those movies. It brings light to the Asian rental family agencies that have been around for decades, assigning actors to role-play as someone important in the life of a stranger, but it's only done as a means to an end, not because these people are in need of heart-to-heart connection. Brendan Fraser is superb as this lonely has-been actor who starts this gig in Tokyo, playing the role of a journalist profiling an elderly man with dementia, and the estranged father of a young girl who needs her dad to get into a private school. And as he grows to genuinely love the people he's assigned to, the movie tackles all the moral complexities that arise from this institution that makes human connection into a business, as if it's something that you can just walk into and leave easily when the goal is met. The score is fantastic, the cinematography captures beauty and mundanity at all the right moments, and it hit me in every single feel. Rental Family is an extraordinary, powerful film, and my personal favorite of 2025. So what were your favorite movies of 2025? And am I a heretic for not including Sinners and One Battle After Another? Whatever it be, let me know in the comments. Well, 2025 may not have been a bad year for film, but it was another pretty sucky year to be me. Save for reaching 1,000 subscribers, I guess that counts for something, so thank you all for that. And the true highlight was meeting Don Bluth at Washington SummerCon. That was amazing. When I met him, I took the opportunity to tell him what The Land Before Time has meant to me through all my life. that whenever I had intrusive thoughts that life isn't worth it, I would think of Littlefoot's faith and perseverance in his journey to the Great Valley. And he actually spoke further encouragement to me. He asked me if I believed in God and proceeded to say, "You are his child, and that gives you worth. But remember, whatever goals you have in life, he doesn't make your decisions for you. He wants you to make the move." Those are words I know very well, but they run deep coming from one of your heroes. And in my efforts to fix my circumstances after losing everything important to me, it has often felt like all I can do is just wait for things to get better, but I have been doing everything that is in my control. And I've also thought of Joseph, how he wound up in so many situations he did nothing to deserve, but he always found a way to make the best of it, and he never forgot that God was with him through all of it. 2026 so far hasn't been stellar for me, but it was in January that I finally had my case heard, and not just heard, but listened to. So maybe, just maybe, this is the year I reach my Great Valley. So thank you to those of you who are always tuning in, including, if they're still watching, Mary and Tiana, the two mental health workers who came to my aid last year. I really appreciate you both. Hopefully my mental health will remain steady enough that it will motivate me to consistently bring you guys content. That's a wrap. Thank you all very much for watching and listening, and be sure to stick around for my top 10 worst movies of 2025. Like and share, click over here for similar content, and subscribe for all of it. This is Pop Culture. I'm Alex Pop.